Give me the hookup. Costco sponsor us.
Vitafusion multivites.
Oh, are they gummies?
Yeah.
I mean, they're very quotable. There's a lot of lessons you can learn from them. I mean, I quote Thor,
I try not to use my phone as much as possible. I try to keep my screen time below 4 hours if I can.
Okay, not same. I have a video that I did that has like over 1 million views. And yeah.
The TikToker.
Yeah.
Welcome back, spammers. I'm Nayla, and I'm joined with Crystal, and welcome to another episode of Sorry for the Spam. If I sound congested, I'm a little sick. I should just put that out there. Not the vid, but I just have a little congestion because it got cold where I live, and when it gets cold, I get congested. Crystal, how have you been?
I've been all right. Struggling, lady days. It really took a toll on me this week, but I feel like I'm feeling better now and ready to go in next week, like 10 times stronger. How about you, Nayla? Despite being sick, how has your week been?
Along with you, last week was my lady issues, so I was ready to bounce back, and then I couldn't because I got sick. I'm feeling a little tired. I feel like I could sleep forever and not be bothered at all.
I feel that so deeply. That actually is a perfect segue into today's topic because we wanted to talk about burnout. And I'm sure this is something a lot of people have dealt with and continue to deal with. I feel like no matter how good you're doing, I feel like burnout is kind of inevitable. Sorry. Ooh, there we go. My first stutter of the day of the podcast.
I wish I could have a counter.
I know, right? Like on the little end, like Crystal stutters. But yeah, we wanted to talk about burnout because as you could tell, we're both kind of feeling it. I feel like I know I am. What about you, Nyla?
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the burnout right now.
So I guess if you don't know what burnout is, we'll give you the Google definition or helpguide.org definition. I guess that's what we'll say. So it says burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. As the stress continues, you begin to lose the interest and motivation that led you to take on a certain role in the first place. And I feel like there's a couple of burnouts or types of burnout that I can think of, and that is creative burnout, mental burnout, physical burnout, and one that's not talked about as much, but emotional burnout. So I guess we can dive into one of those. Which one would you like to talk about first, Nyla? What resonates most with you right now?
Right now? Oh, God.
All of the above.
I'm like, is it all of the above? I'm definitely feeling mental burnout, honestly, right now. I think that's the most that I'm feeling, especially with being sick. I think it comes in waves of like, I want to do more. I want to be able to get my work accomplished. I have like my task list. I want to get it done. But then the congestion makes me not be able to do those things. And then I start regretting everything. And I'm like, why didn't I get this done? And I think that's when the burnout comes in, is because I'm like so drained. I don't feel that good. And then on top of that, I'm not getting anything done.
Yes. And don't you feel like it's almost impossible to really allow yourself to rest? Because even when you're physically resting, mentally, you're still going. Like you're still thinking about what you could be doing.
Absolutely. Do you ever get this is the worst thing, when I'm about to go to sleep, I'm in bed, my head's on the pillow, and I want to sleep. But all that's running through my head is I have to do this. I have to do this. All the different tasks I have to complete are going through my head. What I can do to accomplish these tasks. How do I split up my day? All these things are happening when I'm supposed to be resting, when I'm supposed to be sleeping.
Yes.
Where is the real rest in that?
I agree. For me, like when it comes to like thinking of video ideas for me, I will spend the entire day like constantly thinking about what I should be doing. Like what can I do for this week's video? Not a single thought crosses my mind. As soon as I turn the lights off and lay my head on my pillow, my mind does not shut up. And it's like, okay, we could be doing this and we could do that and that and that and that. And then I got to pull my phone out and like start doing research of things that I can be doing. I'm like, I should be sleeping right now, but I'm not. Like I'm wide awake and I am ready to like start my day over.
No, I definitely that was me last night. Like, no kidding. Last night I went to bed and I was in bed for maybe an hour, couldn't sleep. And within that hour, I had thought multiple times, maybe I should just get up right now. It's like almost 1, 2 in the morning, and I'm like, maybe I should just get up and start doing things right now because I felt so inclined to do it in that moment. But throughout the day, I'm so just drained that I'm like, I don't want to do anything.
Yes, I feel that. One of the things that also makes me feel mental burnout is feeling under challenged. And I feel like that's kind of something I deal with towards the end of the month because I crave change so much that like after a while if my life just starts to feel very stagnant and it's like so repetitive, I start to feel like I don't know if I like maybe like belittle myself or diminish myself because I'm like I should be doing more, like I should be trying to do more than what I'm already doing. And so, one thing that I feel like helps me towards the end of the month is doing a reset and like starting fresh next month and just finding new ways to challenge myself. Because if I just continue the same way I've been for like that entire month, that's when I start to feel a mental burnout. Like I need to have that change in order to not burn out. I don't know if that ever happens to you or if you
Well,
have something similar.
I wanted to ask you, so like when you moved to California, 2 different places in California, did that help you with the burnout? Did you feel like more challenged? Were you able to get more done within those couple months?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like going back to the whole thing that I crave change, like just being able to have a change of atmosphere, I feel like re-inspired me. But towards the end of my stay at each of those places, that's when I started to feel burnout. I was like, I need another change. So it kind of worked that after a while, you know, being out in like the Monterey area, I got to move to another location in California. And then after that month there, I was starting to feel a little burned out. And then it was good that I was coming back home. But now I'm like curious how it's gonna go when I'm here back home because I'm longer or I stay home longer than I do in California. So I'm gonna really have to think about ways to challenge myself and not feel burnt out.
Yeah, so what do you do for your monthly resets, and how do you challenge yourself when you're home, since you're home for such a long period of time?
Mhm. Well, what I like to do is just kind of try new things. So, something that I do is like literally for Monday's video, it's going to be about resetting. So, what I do is I'll just find new like ways to work out. So, one thing I want to try out is like hitting 10,000 steps, which is literally so easy. Like it's not me trying to do the most, but it's just a little challenge for myself to keep repeating, but like to keep challenging myself, you know, little challenges every day.
A
And
new goal to accomplish, perhaps?
yeah, yeah, like a new goal. And I was also thinking about how like our society is like so obsessed with doing the absolute most that sometimes talking about doing little things like that seems almost insignificant, but like those little things can give you bigger results and like again, like for me, it keeps me going. You know, they're little changes, but it's what keeps me motivated over time. But what about you? What are some things you like to do when you start to feel a little mental burnout?
A lot of the times, and I mean, you wrote this down in our notes, so I
Mhm.
kinda wanted to talk about it, but, like, with mental burnout comes self-doubt and comes
Mhm.
insecurities, and I think that's what hits me the hardest
Mhm.
is when I'm at my highest, like, burnout level, I'm just not feeling good myself. And
Mhm.
so I think a big thing is to find myself again, even though again, it happens pretty often, the mental burnout, but
Mhm.
finding yourself I think is such a big part. So I notice that when I leave the house more, even if it's like a small errand, basically Target,
Yeah.
or
Starbucks
like
run.
yeah, Starbucks run, like, but even if I, like, just change my outfit, get ready, and get out the house for just a day, and, like,
Mhm.
take my work and do it somewhere else, like at the library, I realize that, "Hey, I'm capable of doing this," and then I kind of find myself again, find my rhythm again, I'm like, "I can do it," because for me, also, similar to you, ever since COVID happened, and, I feel like COVID had a lot to do with the whole burnout thing, which I have a question on that later.
Mhm.
But when COVID happened and we started studying from home, my entire life changed.
Mhm.
I went through over a year and a half of online school. And being in college and doing it online for everyone who like did it, I want to say first of all, so proud of everyone who did it because it wasn't easy having to like get up every day and join a Zoom call and do everything from the same desk. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't moving. And then after I had moved back home because we were renting in Santa Cruz for a while, but obviously rent's expensive and I had to move back to my parents' house. I've been in the same four walls for the last year and a half. I have been stuck here and I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't have a change of atmosphere. It's just these four walls. So finding myself by going out and doing things has been helpful because then I'm not, just rolling out of bed onto my desk every day. And I think,
Yes.
yeah, I agree with you in the fact that that change of atmosphere, it really helps.
Yes, actually, I also struggle with the same thing. So I wasn't in school anymore. I mean, I had already graduated and I was working, and I was one of the lucky people that was still able to go into their workplace every single day during COVID, but we just like we closed off the building so other people couldn't come in, but like workers could go into the building. So it was nice to have something to do. Like, as much as I didn't really like work, I looked forward to going and doing that because outside of work, it was just me in these same four walls. And I'm a homebody. Like, I love my alone time. I love being home. I like not having to socialize with other people. But COVID changed that for me because now, like, if I'm stuck in one place for so long, I start to feel anxious. Like, I need to do something else. And I think that's one thing that, I guess, kind of jumping back to the whole like, what am I going to do now that I'm home? I'm not going to be going to California anytime soon again, but just having like my car here, I'm able to go out and do a little something like you said, that Target run or the Starbucks run or even going to the park for a little bit, like little things. But I have that, I guess, that privilege to drive wherever I want. Whereas over there, like, we only had one car. And if I wanted to use it, I had to ask my dad, hey, can I take you to work today? And then I could finally go and do something. But yeah, just like having the ability to just get in my car and drive somewhere, like, really helps. Cause I mean, COVID really took a lot away from us and a lot of time. Like, can we even just talk about the time it took away from us? And sometimes I think about how different life would be now had COVID not happened. Like, where would we be? But what brings me comfort is knowing that everyone went through it. Like, it wasn't just me that lost time. Like, a lot of us, like, we all went through it.
Yeah, I think that goes into self-doubt a little bit
Mm-hmm.
where I don't know if you feel this way when you're feeling burnout, but I start to mentally compare myself to other people my age, and I know it's not a good habit, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm trying to unlearn, and I'm trying to not compare myself to other people, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times when I'm feeling burnt out, those insecurities come up, and then I start thinking about, "Oh, these people are all, like, full-time jobs. They're, working in office, they're moving out, they're, in relationships, they're doing all these big things, and what am I doing? I'm still in my parents' home. I'm
Yes.
still interning, like, I'm not at that level, and I think that makes the burnout worse, which is why it's something I'm
Yes.
trying to unlearn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that really affects me, but bringing back to the piece of, "Hey, we all went through COVID." Like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone who graduated with me, we all studied online for a year. We all know what that's like, and that brings so much comfort and then makes me realize, "Hey, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who is still at my parents' home." In fact, most of my friends are still living with their parents. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it does bring some peace and, like, helps the burnout go away because we all are experiencing the same things.
Yeah. I think what really, I guess, amplifies the whole comparison thing nowadays is social media and how easily accessible it is to everyone. Like, I spend, I think, more time on social media than I do doing anything else. And I'm sure everyone can relate to that. And it's so hard to not compare yourself to other people. Like, even friends and family, not necessarily them like rubbing it in your face or anything. Like, people are just living their lives and like posting it, like, as we all do. But being on the other side, it just really makes you question a lot about your own life. How you said, I see people who I went to school with and they're already getting married, they're having kids, and they have their, I don't know, six-figure job or something. And here I am just like still trying to figure it out. But we just always have to remember that we're all on our own timeline, and it's hard to really understand that because again, the whole comparison thing, I feel like that's inevitable, but just kind of like remembering that it's okay to be where you're at. Like we don't have to be where everyone else is. And sometimes I have to take a step back and, I will question like, oh, this person's already married, this person already has kids, but I don't want to be married. I don't want to have kids. So why
Yeah.
am I comparing myself?
Everyone's path is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that's hard to remember, but it's something that's important to remember
Mm-hmm.
is that the path you're on is your current path, and what you do in your life changes your path. And the only person who can change your path is you.
Yes.
There are outside factors that are going to affect it, but at the same time, it's your decisions that you make that put you on a path. I think about Endgame a lot. Okay, Avengers Endgame. I know it's a weird nerdy thing, but that movie
Let us know.
brings me some comfort in the fact that Doctor Strange literally says there's only one way to defeat Thanos, like one way where we win. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to go down that one way. There's a whole multiverse. There's different things happening in every timeline that
Mm-hmm.
can affect how things are perceived, how people's lives go. You look at Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, another movie that shows like Scarlet Witch, if she went down this dark hole, what would happen? Or if she
Mm-hmm.
had this life with her kids, what would happen? And it's like movies like this, even though they're nerdy and they're freaking superhero movies, it brings me comfort knowing that the path that I'm on right now is my path. There's
Mm-hmm.
another me in another universe, maybe that's going down a different path. There's so many different me's that are going down different paths because of one decision I decided to change in my life. And
Yes.
so I'm a big believer in what happens happens, everything's meant to be type of
Mm-hmm.
situation. Not necessarily like, oh, it's fate, but it's just like
It happens.
everything that happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So COVID and burnout and where I am in life, all of this happened for a reason. And I just have to
Mm-hmm.
kind of take what I have and go with it.
Yes. Really well said. Honestly, though, it's kind of funny how um Marvel movies really like I mean, they're very quotable. There's a lot of lessons you can learn from them. I mean, I quote Thor, you know, they have some good messages in those movies.
As you should.
Yeah. I feel like rightfully so.
I
There's a
love those
lot to learn
movies.
from them, right? They're so good.
There's so much to learn from every single character, every single
Mhm.
story.
Yep. And I'm kind of mad at myself for taking so long to watch them, but I'm here. That's what matters.
That's what matters. See, to me, I know you're a Marvel fan. Even though you
Mhm.
weren't, I know you as a Marvel fan.
Thank you. I kind of feel like burnout is like this umbrella term, right? Like I feel like overall burnout is burnout, but there's like all these different little layers. And so we mentioned earlier, one of those little layers is creative burnout. And I feel like we both have gone through that. So if you guys are new here, or maybe you guys know, Nyla used to have a bullet journal account on YouTube. It's still up if you guys want
It's
to go
still
check
up,
it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's 6 videos I think up. So go
Yeah.
ahead,
Really
check it
good.
out.
Link in description. But when me and Nyla met, Nyla was no longer doing her bullet journaling, and she mentioned it was because I guess you felt a little burnt out, right? Not to speak for you, but
Yeah, so if you want me to get into it,
yeah.
what had happened was I started it in the pandemic in 2020, and I started it
Mm-hmm.
in June. I had some encouragement from a lot of my friends around me that were like, "You are so good at this. You need to make a channel, like post it online, like do something with it. This is something that you're really creatively good at," which shout out to them because they boosted my ego on that. So I started. I had the whole setup, and it was when you're starting, and Crystal, you can relate to this. You don't have all these professional equipment, you don't have like ring lights and all this stuff when you're first starting. And so I would have to like maneuver things in my room in order to make sure that my phone was like high enough that I could actually record. And I would like attach it to like 10 different things, secure it so that because I had to get an overhead shot of me
Mm-hmm.
drawing. And then I would be uncomfortably laying down on the floor, like trying to draw. And so I did it for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I started noticing that I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I don't know if this is considered to be burnout. I think it was a lot. It had to do with the fact that I felt the need to do these drawings to post them. It
Mm-hmm.
was less for me.
Yeah.
And so I started to feel burnt out in the creative aspect because I wasn't coming up with anything that I wanted to anymore. My themes weren't really aligning with how they used to. It was just
Mhm.
kind of, what do I want to put out into the world? Like, I would notice which videos got more views and I would be like, oh, okay, so if this theme got this type of views, I should do another theme similar to this.
Mhm.
Or like when I did one of my favorite themes, which is my July theme from 2020, it was like whales and like my favorite colors. And that one didn't get as many views as the one before that. And I was like,
Oh,
that kind of
well.
sucks. Oh well. Um, that's a quote from that bullet journal.
Oh,
But
is
that
it?
was, yeah. But that was one of my favorite bullet journals that I did. And all of a sudden I felt like it wasn't good enough because it wasn't getting enough views. And so I didn't try and let the views bother me too much because, again, I was just starting, but
Mhm.
I started to just feel this sense of I'm only doing this so I can post. I'm not doing this for me anymore. And so that's
Mhm.
kind of why I stopped. And instead, quick plug, I made a bullet journal Instagram account. And that I think has been so much more beneficial because I feel less burnout. I feel less inclined to be posting things for the sake of posting things. It's I whenever I finish my bullet journal, I take a couple quick pictures and I post them online,
Yeah.
and that just feels so much better to me because I don't feel any sort of burnout with it. I'm just posting what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh my god, I could, like, really dive into this one because I mean, I've been
Go
doing
ahead.
YouTube for so long, and I was kind of the same way, like, at first, I wanted to post YouTube so badly, and then I had started, but like I would look at other people's views. I would look at what they were doing and I was like, okay, I got to do that in order to get views because I mean, be it if you're doing YouTube for fun or not, like the views start to get to you after a while because I mean, you're taking time out of your day, you're investing money in it, you're like doing the absolute most for your YouTube videos, but you're not receiving any sort of response for them. You maybe get like 10 views and then you kind of start to feel bad about it. You're like, okay, am I not interesting enough? Like, do people not like me? Like, what's going on? And so, because of that, I would like stop and start YouTube so many times. I think it wasn't until like year 3 I was like, okay, this is it. I want to do YouTube and I'm going to stop thinking about what everyone else is doing. I'm going to start doing what I want to do. And I have been doing YouTube for I think 2 or maybe almost 3 years consistently now because I'm no longer trying to do what other people want. Thank you. Or what other people are, I don't know, what's trending and stuff. I'm doing what I want to do. And so that's what really helped me, but I also totally understand the whole like creative burnout aspect of it because I mean, with social media again, like we're we're posting content like this so fast. Like every single day, every single second, every single minute there's new content out there and there's this like feeling that you have to constantly be posting in order to keep up with everyone. And so I feel like because there's this overload of media and like having to like produce constantly, that it kind of takes away the fun in creating. And now you're just kind of putting things out there instead of doing, fun things that you enjoy because you feel like you have to keep up with everyone and it does really lead to creative burnout and I kind of feel that way sometimes. Like I start to doubt myself because I'm not posting as much as everyone else or because maybe even sometimes I'm like I'm posting too much. But I don't know, it really is this whole like insecurity thing like am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? What should I be doing here?
I totally get having to post just to post. That's where my YouTube burnout came from, was I was
Mhm.
just posting just to post. My 2020 bullet journal, probably one of my least favorites because of the fact that I was posting just to post. And
Mhm.
I think skipped a month or 2 because I was just not feeling it. And it was just that's when I realized at the end of December I wanted to start my new journal and I didn't want to have to sit there and record it.
Mhm.
That was my thing. It was 2 in the morning one night, and I was just like, "I wanna start my new journal, and I don't wanna have to record this." I didn't start my Instagram until a year later, which was this year, but
Mhm.
I've posted every month so far this year, and that has been so much more beneficial because it's not posting just to post,
Yeah.
it's more so intentional.
Yeah, it's like now you're doing it because you want to, but, "Oh, look, I already did it. Take a picture, snap, post it."
Mhm.
That's kind of like what I wrote on here. It's when passion turns to work. Like it
Yeah.
starts out as a passion, but then because you're trying to, I guess, well, like for me, I'm right now YouTube is like my main source of income, and so I have to post in order to, keep my views up and ad revenue and all of that stuff. And so sometimes I get scared, I'm posting twice a week. What if like I burn out and then I stop and like all of this progress that I made just goes down the drain because like I overdid it. Like I overworked myself and now I'm like completely burned out. Like what should I do next? But what helps me with that is again going back to the whole thing that I'm just doing what I want to do. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on it. And if my content is boring to some people, but as long as I enjoy it, like that's all that matters, like I'm having fun. And I think people can see that as well. The viewers will notice when you're feeling burnt out and you're just posting to post. But if you're having fun, like they can see that. And I feel like that's what helped me grow. Like that's what I feel like started to get my YouTube videos up was I started having more fun with my content and people started subscribing for me, not for my content, sort of thing. At least I hope. I hope you're all here for me.
I mean, I feel like the viewers will find you, right? The ones who
Mhm.
genuinely want to watch your content, are genuinely interested in what you post.
Yeah.
They'll find you at some point. So that way you're not posting just for the sake of getting viewers, but you're
Mhm.
posting because you're looking for that right crowd.
Yes. And that's what you want. I know that right now views are like such a big thing, especially with like TikTok and stuff. Like you can post on TikTok and go completely viral. Like I have a video that I did that has like over 1 million views. And yeah, and
Crystal, the
woo, yeah.
TikToker.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. That's like one of the only ones that has like over 1 million views. But like I gained 15,000 followers from that 1 million view video. When I post now, I get like 100 views, 200 views. Like it's not what I got in that one video, but that just goes to show that like those people just follow. They're empty follows. They're not going to keep up with your content. It's just so easy to, again, the mindlessly scrolling and just consuming media like rapidly is harming, like, one, our attention spans, and two, it's not anything genuine. People are just posting to post, people are just consuming to consume. But over on YouTube, it's a little bit of a slower process. And while it can be like kind of annoying to see people grow so rapidly on TikTok, but then over here on YouTube, it's such a slow process. But I'm getting a genuine audience over here. Like people are subscribing and they're watching my content. They're tuning in every week and they're looking forward to my videos versus over there where I have like 15,000 people that follow me, but they're ghosts. They're not there anymore.
Do you ever feel like you hit a plateau when it comes to like subscribers or views or things like that? And does that plateau ever affect your creative burnout?
Ooh, yes, it does. And I kind of feel like I'm going through that right now. So with YouTube, as I mentioned, it wasn't until like year 3 that I really started to be consistent. But it wasn't until like I think a year and a half into that year 3 that I started to see my channel grow. And that was because I was being consistent. I feel like a lot of people lose hope when they're starting YouTube because they don't see that growth and it takes so much time. Unless you're very lucky and you get like a viral video or I don't know, YouTube just pushes out your content. It's a slow process to grow on YouTube. And finally, last year, when I started to do my Motivational Monday videos, I was starting to get 1K views. And, in the grand scheme of things, 1K views isn't a lot, but it's a
Hey,
lot
it's a
to
lot.
me.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot
No
to me, but
comparisons here. It is
okay,
still a
okay.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Keeping me in check. Um, so I was starting to get 1K views and I was like, oh my God, finally, like my hard work, it's paying off because again, I've been so consistent. Like I think I missed only like in total, probably like 5 uploads over a span of like 2 to 3 years. I was posting every single Friday and then beginning of last year, I started to post Mondays and Fridays. And so I started to see that growth and I was feeling so inspired. I was feeling so motivated. I was like, okay, it's my time to shine. But then as the year went on, the views kind of started trickling back down and it was kind of like hitting a plateau. So I went from, I think, like 1 point something K subscribers to 8K subscribers. So it was like a huge difference there, 7K or 6 point something
Woo!
K. Yay. So and now it's kind of like plateauing. It's like taking forever to get to 10K. And I'm trying to remain grateful because I am still grateful for one single follow. Whatever follow I get, I'm grateful for it. Whatever view, like people taking time out of their day to watch my content. If my video gets 10 views, that's 10 people that took time out of their day to watch me. And it makes me really happy to see that. But again, with that whole comparison thing, and especially like getting excited because all of a sudden you're getting all these views, to like all of a sudden now you're getting half of those views. It really plays with your mind, and it makes you feel really insecure. I even told you one time, right, that I was like, is this my flop era?
Yeah. You mentioned that and I was like, no, Crystal, no. It is
Yeah.
not your flop era because it takes time. Again, everyone's path is so different.
Yeah.
And even though you're hitting that plateau, I feel like at some point you got to hit a plateau. The plateaus
Yeah.
exist for a reason, right?
They're here
And
to humble you.
and so you don't know what's going to happen after the plateau.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe when Vlogmas comes around, all of a sudden, I'm
Skyrocket.
hoping for you. I'm hoping.
Thank you. I hope so.
But you never know. And like you said,
Yeah.
it could be one video, even on YouTube. It could be one video that pushes you further up than anything else.
Like for me, it was my weight loss video. Honestly, that's, I think, where most of my stuff still comes from. Like most of my AdSense, most of my viewers. Nyla rewatching it
Me,
every
yeah.
single day.
No. Maybe a couple times. Way to call me out, Crystal.
You're a real one. You're my fave. Wait, what were we talking about? Nyla, I need to know what you take for your mental health because you have really good memory. I don't.
What vitamins do I take?
What vitamins do you take on the daily?
I take multivitamins.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
Multivitamins. I think
Honestly,
so.
it's from Costco. Here, I'll show you.
Okay. Give me the hookup. Costco sponsor us.
Vitafusion multivites.
Oh, are they gummies?
Yeah.
Okay. I got to get some of those. I think they sell those at Target because we don't
Yeah.
have Costco here.
Oh yeah, you don't have Costco. Multivitamins. That's all. I've always had a good memory. That's just, I don't know why.
Yeah. I used to have really good memory and then I started getting old. And then my memories got
I
really
feel
bad.
I feel like my memory is fading now.
Okay, see, so it's probably like a rite of passage into adulthood. It's like
Probably.
fish brain.
Yeah, no, it's definitely happening. I used to have a way better memory,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm
Yeah,
losing things.
yeah, because I used to be the same exact way. Like I would remember every single little detail. I was so good at remembering things, and I would even get mad at other people when they wouldn't remember things because I'm like,
It's so
how?
easy to remember.
How?
How did you forget? Yeah,
Yeah.
now I get it.
And now I'm like, wait a second. What did you just tell me a second ago? Where was I going with this?
That happened to me earlier. You literally said something and I was like, huh?
Yeah. So, moral of the story, we're getting old and that's why we're burning out.
Yes. Speaking of getting old,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you, Crystal, since you're much wiser than me when it comes to
Yes.
age.
Yes.
Speaking of, everyone comment happy birthday to Crystal because this episode's coming out on the 2nd and it is,
No.
yeah, and your birthday's in 5 days.
No.
So
And
everyone
everyone
please
say happy belated birthday to Nyla because last month, our first episode, the first
yeah,
full episode was posted before after Nyla's birthday.
go back to episode
Go back to episode number 1.
and go wish me happy birthday on that one. No, I'm
Or
kidding.
in this one.
Yeah, wish us both happy birthday. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Happy birth season.
Yes. But when did you start to feel burnout? Like when do you think it started affecting you in your life?
I think honestly, like I feel like we're gonna be referring to COVID a lot, but it wasn't until COVID that I really started to feel burnout, and I think it's because COVID kind of forced us um to slow down, I guess, because we were so like the world was so go go go, like you got to be doing the most in order for you to succeed in all your dreams, and so I feel like it was a little bit more normal to push yourself back then. I mean, now obviously as well, but I feel like we're taking our time with things more now because we realize that it's okay to be on your own timeline. But previously to COVID, I feel like I wasn't necessarily burnout, but I was feeling like, I guess, kind of very insecure because of the whole like comparison thing, you know? I would feel insecure, but I wasn't feeling burnout. Or maybe I didn't really call it burnout. That makes sense?
No, it does. I was actually going to say I fully think COVID is how burnout came to be.
Mhm.
Because like you said, before COVID, everything was go, go, go. There was no time to just rest, right? Whether you
Yeah.
were working a 9 to 5 on the weekdays and hanging out with your friends on the weekends, you were always out, you were always doing stuff. Like all of a sudden, everything stopped.
Mhm.
And so we all got used to this staying home and, doing work a little slower and feeling like you need to take breaks because burnout even happened in the COVID when you're just at home doing nothing and all of a sudden you're like you hit a plateau and you're like I don't know what else to do.
Yes. I can actually I I remember the time when I like literally felt burnout, and it was when I went to quit my job. So again, previously to COVID, I feel like I was working to work because obviously in order to live in this world, you need to work. And you need to make money. And so I was justifying me continuing to work in this place because I needed money, and I almost felt like I had no other options, I guess. Um, and then once COVID hit and I was like really stuck in work, like there was nothing else, I guess. Maybe nothing else was on my mind other than I'm going to work at this place that I hate. Um, and also there was like no room for growth in that company. I felt like I was doing above and beyond. Like I'm a really good worker. Like I can't say no sort of
You get
thing.
your
And
stuff done.
yeah, I get my stuff done and I do a damn good job at it, no matter what it is. And so I feel like I was doing so much for this company. And the problem was also that like everyone knew each other in that company. It was small enough where you knew people's life stories, sort of thing. And so there was a part of me that felt like I owed something to everyone that worked there. Like I couldn't leave because I didn't want to leave these people hanging. I couldn't leave because these people need me, sort of thing. But, once I kind of had a little bit of growth in that company, like I was moved to a different department because, people were getting laid off and they needed someone to go somewhere else. So I got to go to this other department, and I liked this position a lot more. But eventually, like they ended up moving me back. So I got downgraded again for no reason, no explanation. They didn't tell me anything other than we'll see you back here on Monday. And I was on vacation too. I was living my life. I was happy. I was like in Phoenix. I remember we were at Peter Piper, and I got a message on my phone that said, we'll see you here on Monday. And I was like, what? Like
How
nobody
dare
told
you
me
ruin this?
anything. Yeah, and then the boss knew me. She knew I was capable of so much more. She knew I was like a really creative person, not to toot my own horn, but toot toot,
Toot
you know?
toot. Rightfully
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And she would feed me these things telling me that she wanted me to do more. She wanted me to like become like the social media person for the company, sort of thing. Like she knew because what I majored in college was television and film production. So like they knew all of this stuff, and they knew I could do more, but they didn't want me to move on up because I was so good at doing what I was already doing. And they didn't want me to like move from there. I don't know. They didn't want me to grow. And so I think that started to get to me. And I was like, okay, I can't stay here any longer. Like, I need to move on, and I'll figure it out. Like, I don't know. I don't have money saved up. I had like a little bit, but I was like, I gotta go. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice. And then the whole thing with like California came up, and I don't know how, but like somehow money just kept coming. And I was like, okay, good, good. We're making this work.
Mhm.
So I feel like it helped me to break free from that cycle that I was stuck in. But that's when I started to feel that burnout, was during COVID, when I was stuck at that place. And I was like, I'm realizing that I shouldn't be here anymore. When did you start feeling burnout?
I would
Explain.
I would also say I fully believe that COVID affected everyone in the sense of burnout. I feel like burnout has become more of an acknowledged thing because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I think we didn't really acknowledge it back before COVID. I think it was more of just exhaustion. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone was just tired or exhausted, but you had to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
There was no stop back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden when we hit this hard stop, everything changed. And now after COVID is when I started to feel burnout. I remember before COVID, it was such a normal thing to be studying at like 3 in the morning. And like we had a recreation lounge where it was open 24/7, and I would always be there. Like my roommates knew where I was, and I was always studying, and I was always trying to like get good grades and, just do what I was in college for.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden I didn't want to do as much as I used to. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
it was such a repetitive routine of me getting up from my bed and going to my desk, and then logging into my 9 a.m. classes from Zoom, and then sitting there on Zoom in my pajamas and just, studying. And then when that Zoom class ends, you have to do homework in between, and then you attend your next Zoom class, and then you do more homework, more studying. And it was just this repetitive process of me getting up, studying, and then all I could do at the time was like watch YouTube. That's when Twitch started like becoming a really, really big thing and people started streaming more. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like always on like Twitch. I was in front of a screen so much that I had to start wearing glasses. And like I have really good vision. Like I have never needed glasses, but I started getting that pain in the back of my head
Mm-hmm.
where started to need glasses for when I'm looking at a screen, which is sometimes I wear glasses, sometimes I am lazy and forget to put them on.
Eyesight burnout.
Yeah, it really happened. And it was in that moment where I realized staring at a screen so much and just doing this thing repetitively was so tiring. Like I didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The whole getting a degree thing at that point, I was just like, I mean, I have to do it. I have to finish it. But at the same time, I don't feel emotionally here to do it because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
tired. I just want to change. Like I want to go and do something. I want to go somewhere. I was so tired of doing the same thing over and over again. I think that's when the burnout started to really hit, was because
Mm-hmm.
there was no balance anymore.
Yeah.
And as a Libra, our thing is scales. We love balance, and I thrive on balance. Like
Mm-hmm.
balance is the biggest thing for me. I love balancing especially right now, my physical health with my emotional health, with my mental health, and like having a balance in all aspects of the different things we could have in life. And I have a question then. Because when I get burnout, I feel like it starts hitting every aspect of my life. Like it starts with one thing and then it starts hitting everything else. And I don't know,
Yes.
do you feel that as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like burnout's like this umbrella term, and I feel like when you experience burnout, it's not necessarily one thing. It's all of the things, like how you said they end up coming up. Like you end up feeling mentally burnout, then you don't want to get up and work out, so then you feel physical burnout, and then you feel like you're not doing anything productive, so then you start feeling bad about yourself, so that's the emotional burnout. And I feel like it's important to acknowledge the different types of burnout so that you can kind of pinpoint where it started.
You could target the areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's how you kind of start to overcome it. It's like, why did this start? And then you can kind of, go back and try to change it up. So for me, this week I started to feel a little burnout because of my period. And I feel like my period always makes me feel burnt out. Like
Being
I'm
a
pretty sure.
woman, we get burnt out once a month.
Yeah. And I swear like mine affects me 3 weeks out of a month. So I only have like one good month where I'm like totally fine and thriving.
You're like the
Um,
week before, the week of, the week after.
after, yeah, like right now I'm feeling better, but I'm still in my recovery period. So like I gotta get back on track. Just today I was thinking about how I'm getting good workouts, but they're not where they should be because I can't do as much as I could do previous to my period. It's like I still got to recover in order to get there. I feel like it's a physical burnout, right? Like your period starts off being a physical burnout because your body gets tired and
But
all
also
of that.
mental
Yeah, so then there's also like the
hormones.
feeling bad about yourself. Your hormones are unbalanced. You're For some women, you have like the body dysmorphia sort of thing, which affects your emotional burnout because now you feel really bad about yourself. Like literally, this past week, I was struggling. I felt like I looked like a little boy. I felt like my skin was too oily. My hair was not cooperating. And I literally did like 3 different hairstyles and ripped them all out because I was like, no, I don't like this.
But you didn't look like a little boy. You looked adorable.
Thank you. Thank you. I gotta like hype myself up when I'm feeling that way. Like if you follow me on Instagram, I'll do little music. I want to call them TikToks, but stories. I'll do
Stories,
little
yeah.
stories to like hype myself up and they make me feel better because otherwise, like I'll just hate myself for the rest of the day. Yeah, so it's like I feel like, there's all these different types of burnout, but they all kind of come together. It's like a package deal that I didn't sign up for, but
Yeah,
they're
no,
here.
none of us did.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of want to jump into emotional burnout real quick, like before we like dive in even further, because we know that emotional burnout can also, be from the comparison thing and all of that. But I feel like there's also an emotional burnout when it comes to like relationships with anyone, like not just a romantic relationship, but friends or other people. And I feel like, when you mentioned that you were stuck at home and you started to feel a little stuck, I feel like we were all missing that emotional connection to other people. Like, even though I am antisocial and I don't really like to talk to people, I felt like I was missing that, or just being surrounded by other people. Like, I don't know, like there's definitely an emotional burnout with that we don't acknowledge as much because especially if you are a homebody or you're very introverted person, you're like, oh, I don't need people, like I'm fine by myself. But like I feel like everyone needs people, like every once in a while, like you start to feel alone, and I feel like that comes from the emotional burnout. Do you ever experience things like that?
Yeah, emotional burnout's the one I feel like not is the most prevalent in my life, but is it never goes away.
Uh-huh.
There's always this little thing in the back of my mind that's telling me you need to talk to your friends or like you need to
Yes.
text people, you need to reach out. But at the same time, like you said, I'm very similar. I'm a homebody. I don't like being on my phone. I try not to use my phone as much as possible. I try to keep
Same.
my screen time below 4 hours if I can.
Okay,
Like,
not same.
well, you do social media, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
You have to be on it. But like
Mhm.
even that's why when it comes to even the podcast, I don't really promote too much because I'm not on social media like that.
Mhm.
I post rarely and it's like
Good
a
for
photo
you.
dump. It's because of the emotional burnout that I feel when it comes to social media. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's a different topic than what you asked. But I feel
It's
like
okay.
a lot of my emotional burnout comes from social media because everyone's, out there living their lives and stuff. And then I'm being the homebody that I am. I'm not really doing much. And then
Mhm.
I start to feel like when it comes to friends, I feel like because we're at different levels in life, all of a sudden I start to undermine myself. It becomes this whole what's going to happen process where I just start
Mhm.
thinking about all these questions and then it makes me not want to reach out, but then at the same time not reaching out makes me sad. Need more of a social outing once in a while.
Mhm.
Like, I should be able to go out and hang out with people, even if it's once a month or twice a month. Like, I should be able to do these things. But because of where I am emotionally, I start to feel like, oh, maybe I should just stick to being a homebody.
Yes. Oh my god, yeah. Perfectly said. I also struggle with it, and I feel like it can be so easy to just forget about your friends, like, as mean as that sounds. But, as an introvert, I even get anxiety texting people sometimes because it's like I don't know, like, what it is. It's I guess it's modern day socializing, and so it affects us the way that normal socializing would affect us, and so, I can so easily forget to respond to people, and then I end up feeling bad because I'm not responding, and then
I'm laughing because I'm so sorry. I do that all the time where I like open a message and I just don't respond.
yeah, I do the same thing too. It's like I obviously like I open it because I want to know what someone said, but it's like the act of responding to them that takes so much energy away from me that I'm like, okay, I'll respond to it later, but then I forget about it because fish brain.
Mhm.
And then they like maybe do like a second text and I'm like, I forgot. And then I got to go and like respond to them right away because I feel horrible about not responding, but it's just like it literally gives me anxiety to respond to other people, but like I understand the importance of having that connection with your friends. And so now I'm making more of an effort to reach out to my friends and hang out with people more often. Even if it does take a lot of away from me, I know that I want so badly to be more social than antisocial. So I'm like forcing myself to do it. I don't feel forced hanging out with these people. That sounds mean, but it's just like I'm forcing myself to go out and do things instead of just neglecting my friends because I feel like it's so important to have those people to go to, and to talk to other people. And I mean, when you don't socialize with friends, you feel alone in your feelings. Having someone else to like open up to and just like talk to and relate to someone, it makes you feel so good. And that's why I think friendships are so important. And that's why I'm trying to emphasize my friendships more now. I feel like I'm learning that now as I'm getting older. especially because it's harder to make new friends as you get older.
Make a note of that real quick.
Make friends.
Yeah, and I feel like again, I this burnout episode should just be titled COVID.
No,
Because
literally.
because
COVID burnt us out.
yeah, because COVID really, it took away a lot of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You started to see people less. You started to your friends that you would hang out with all the time, you weren't seeing them as often. For me, living in Santa Cruz for college and then coming home, my friend group entirely changed because a lot of my friends in Santa Cruz don't live near me anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of my college friends I can't really hang out with anymore as often.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fact that I had to go back to like hometown friends because I'm back in my hometown and they're the people who are closest to me. And even though like we might have had like a texting relationship while I was in college, it was so different having to learn to adapt to a new group of friends or new people or just all these different aspects of like moving from one place to another because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And also again with the whole not being able to see people. I think
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky and because of living on in school still, I lived with a couple friends. And so I had those people that were there for me and
Mm-hmm.
they were actually my friends and it wasn't just roommates. So we still were able to have these conversations and talk. But had they not been there, I don't know how much social interaction I would have had.
Yeah. We would have just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when you're at home, like I'm an only child, and so it's just me and my parents, and like my parents are my best friends. I love them. They
Mm-hmm.
mean so much to me, but they're also still my parents. So
Yeah.
I can't go up to them and be like, "Oh my God, Dylan O'Brien."
Yeah. There's like
Even though,
certain things
yeah,
you probably can talk to them about it, but
I
it's
was
like
gonna
you
say,
don't
even though
want to.
I'm pretty sure I have. Like when I was 16, I'm pretty sure I was like, "Oh my God, Dylan O'Brien." But like
Yeah.
now, as a 23-year-old, I'm like, we have to have more sophisticated conversations.
Yeah. It's like,
No
so
more
how's the
Dylan
weather
O'Brien.
today?
Yeah. So the earthquake other day, did you feel it? Like,
Taxes. Oh my
yeah.
God, I saw that you guys had an earthquake. Did you feel it?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Let's go ahead and end off on a good note.
Yes. Let's end
And
off with some happy stuff.
yes. And yeah, also, if you guys have any sort of topics you guys want us to talk about, let us know down below. We can definitely do a deep dive. I'm an open book. I'm an open book. Nyla, are you an open book? I mean,
I'm like
I don't know
half
if you're
open.
okay. She's a half book, a open book. I mean, I'm a very open book. Even if I'm uncomfortable, I will still talk. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can let us know what you guys want us to talk about, and I can give you guys my full life story, and then Nyla will give you guys half the story.
No, I honestly, Crystal makes it a very comfortable place. So I do feel comfortable sharing these
As
things.
do you. As do you.
So I'm like more than halfway open. There's
Mm-hmm.
just certain stuff that I'm like, I know there's some family members listening and I have
Yeah.
to censor.
Yeah. 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 I feel you.
But
But
yeah,
yeah.
let's end it on a more happy note.
Okay. So I have a question for you, Nyla.
Yes.
So we talked a lot about burnout. Um, Well, I guess one quick question I have for you is how do you know you're feeling burnout? And then what do you do to like get yourself back together, I guess?
You know, I don't think there's ever a defining moment where I know I'm feeling burnt out. I think it's
Mhm.
just this overwhelming feeling.
Mhm.
Usually comes with me just being so overwhelmed that I want to cry.
Uh-huh.
I know I'm feeling burnt out when I get very emotional.
Mm.
And so what I do to get out of that situation, like you said, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I like to break my habits, like break out of the norm.
Mhm.
And so if I'm like in the house a lot, I'll try and get out the house.
Mhm.
Or if I realize I need to socialize more, I'll like text a couple friends, even though I'm not a big
Mhm.
texter. I will notice the habits that I'm forming because of burnout, like, for example, watching too much TV or YouTube
Mhm.
or laying in bed for too long of a time. And I'll take those habits and I'll try and break those habits.
Mhm.
But that's mostly it. How about you, Crystal?
I feel like I'm kind of the same way actually. Like there's not really a defining moment, but I do start to notice that okay, I'm a very motivated person. I always like preach like don't rely on motivation because motivation's not always going to be there. And so I feel like I'm very consistent, but I do feel very motivated like on the daily. Like I it's a superpower I have, I guess. Um
It's a good
and so,
superpower.
thank you. I worked hard to get there. Um But when I feel unmotivated, that's when I know I'm burnt out, because again, I'm a very motivated person. So when I'm lacking in that, I'm like, oh, maybe I need to take a step back. Maybe I need to take like a little rest, recharge moment, doing a little self-care sort of day. And again, like how you said, stepping out of that norm, that cycle that I've been in, and just taking a little recharge moment just really helps me. Also, just kind of like, I mean, it's also self care day, but just having a day where I'm not putting any pressure on myself to go on social media, to try to be creative, to film, because I am constantly filming, especially like with me posting twice a week, and then now with the podcast, and then also trying to do TikTok and Instagram and all of these different things. I just try to have a day where I just disconnect from it all. Like, I have to force myself to do it because I have to do it for work, and then I also want to do it for fun. So it's like, when do I have that time where I'm not on it? So I have to force myself to not be on it. And it just feels so good to step away from social media. No one probably notices, but I have to do it for me, like I just have to step away for a day and just not respond to people, not consume anything, just maybe watch some Gilmore Girls or something. And that's what helps me. Okay, my next question is, how do you find time for yourself?
A lot of the time I spend is by myself
Mm-hmm.
because I work from home and again, these four walls, my best friends. It's so hard to differentiate finding time for yourself versus being by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I find time for myself, it's usually to do things that I really like. Say I have a task that it's not required for work, it's something fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book I want to finish. And so finding time for myself is taking out the time to set up my day so that I can get all my tasks done. I can do everything I need to during the day. And then so at the end of the day, I have this time where like it's just me. I'm by
Yeah.
myself. I'm reading my book. I'm not on my phone. I'm doing this for myself. Or like you
Yeah.
said, Gilmore Girls. I'll
Yeah.
throw some Gilmore Girls
Some
on.
Luke in there.
Some Luke Danes. That's all I need to find time for myself. But that's how I usually do it. Or again, with those days where I go out, I know you do this a lot, and this is like something that I've been trying to figure out and navigate, but not just finding time for myself, but finding time to do things alone and,
Mm-hmm.
taking myself out on a date, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I've learned that I do enjoy, and it's something that helps me when the burnout comes,
Mm-hmm.
is when I just take a day to go to a coffee shop and just hang out by myself, or like go shopping, go to a couple of stores, go visit a new place in town that I've never been. Things like that, because it's
Mm-hmm.
so out of the norm for me. It's so distant from what I usually do because I rarely go outside, let alone
Mm-hmm.
by myself. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's a part of self-care for me, is learning how to be alone.
Yeah. So like working on that, like
Mhm.
being more comfortable with it.
Like, it's almost a distraction from the burnout because I'm more
Yeah.
focused on doing something else.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, distractions, like getting just out of rhythm, is
Mm-hmm.
just a big part of me trying to like find time.
Yeah. For me, I feel like something I've started doing more now is finding little times throughout every single day. Sometimes it's not possible for me to find that time in a day, but just like doing it more consistently, because before, what I would do is I would work, 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 burn out, and then I'm like, oh, I need to take a day to myself. I need to, finally take a rest day and not, continue working. But I felt like I would always force myself to burn out until I finally took a self-care day. But now I'm forcing myself to do a self-care day so I don't burn out. Because before, like I said, I was working, 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 never prioritizing any time for myself. And even though it seems like that on my videos, because obviously, like, I do a lot of like self-care stuff, I do a lot of working now, and it might seem like, oh, like, you're always doing self-care. Like, what do you mean you're having to find time for self-care? But you have to remember that I'm also kind of putting on a show. Like, I have to like amplify my personality. I have to like make things seem more interesting, and so it can burn you out too. Like, it just, anyone try social media for a day, like, it really is draining. It's not harder than other jobs. It's not, for sure. But it does take a toll on you. And then, to add the whole thing about views and all of this stuff, like, oh my God, it's like it's a huge mental game, mental challenge. I don't know what to call it, but it does burn you out. And so it might seem like I'm always prioritizing self-care, but like I still have to, like, outside of that, like I have to find time for myself to like not be on camera, to not be socializing, to not be feeling like I have to post everything on social media and making it look aesthetic and all of these different things. So just like forcing myself to take little moments throughout the day, such as turning my phone off an hour before bed, just like that 1 hour before bed, so that I can like meditate, or like you said, read a book, or watch some Luke Danes, or whatever I need to
That's our
do.
priority.
Yeah, that's her priority. We got to prioritize Luke. Just taking that little 1 hour to myself a day, it makes a huge difference, because I can just recharge and be ready and able to take on the next day, sort of thing.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like you said, it's almost like putting on a show. If you have a camera on you while you're doing your everyday tasks, I feel like that changes so much.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, when before I used to do YouTube, I used to think it was so easy to do YouTube. I was like, oh, anyone can grab a camera, turn it on, that's it. But like, if you want to like be consistent on YouTube, if you want to like, I'm hoping for the best and hope it turns into something, like I have to do the most in order for it. I have to constantly be thinking about ideas. I constantly have to be again, putting on a show. I have to, like, on top of that, like once I'm done with all of that, I have to edit. And the amount of videos I have scrapped, like that have not made it on the internet, because I just feel so insecure, or because I'm like, people aren't gonna want to watch this. People are, like that, just the whole insecurity thing. It takes a lot from you. It's a mentally draining thing to do. And again, like I'm still grateful for it, because if I can do that for the rest of my life, like I'll be fine. Like I don't care if it's mentally draining. I love it so much. Like I'll
Mhm.
continue doing it. And I've worked the 9 to 5, and I know that that's not for me, and I don't get anything from it, but I'll put up with it. I don't care if it's mentally draining. I don't care if I feel insecure. Like I love it. I love it so much, and I'll do whatever I have to do for it.
I think that's a really good way to put it for burnout, finding
Mhm.
what you love,
Yeah.
doing what you love, taking out time to do the things that you love to do.
Yes.
For me, even though it's obviously the way I work out, even though it's something that I've hit plateaus with, I felt burnt out with, Zumba has been such a consistent thing.
Mhm.
And just listening to the music and just dancing. And I do it with my mom, and it means so much that I do it with my mom. Like,
Yeah, I love that.
not to toot her horn,
Toot
but
toot. I'll toot it for her.
she got employee of the month at her job,
Ah,
and in her little description she wrote that
employee of
in
the month.
her free time she likes to do Zumba with her daughter. And
Oh,
I was like, Mom, stop. It's so
so cute.
cute.
Yeah.
um but like I said, like even though I feel burnout sometimes, it's something that I love to do, and I'm not gonna stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
And when it comes to reading, when it comes to, posting my bullet
Mhm.
journaling is something, it's such an anchor for me.
Yeah.
I My self-care is bullet journaling now, because I don't have that priority. Going back to the beginning of this episode, I don't have that priority of posting it on YouTube. I don't have to edit it. I don't have to do anything. I just take out my time whenever I want to. I create my spreads. I post a couple pictures about it.
Yeah.
And it's bringing back always like something that I love to do, something that I want to do, and I think that keeps me going.
Yes. It's like doing what you love because you love it. It's the best way to live life. Cause yeah, like, you know, I mean, to jump a little bit back to the whole physical burnout, the reason why I'm able to be so consistent with working now, like a lot of people, I mean, I'm always posting on Instagram, like workout done, and I'll get comments where people are like, I need your motivation. How do you work out all the time? And it's because I love it. I went from hating it. Like I dreaded having to get in a 10-minute workout. Like I hated having to go for a walk, but I turned it into something that's so fun for me that like I enjoy it now and I love it. Turning on my red lights and blasting some music, like it just finding those ways to like make something just so much more fun will completely change the way that you look at it, and it'll motivate you more to like continue doing it. um so yeah, that's I feel like this was a really good episode, Nyla. I feel like we kind of got a lot out there off our chests.
Oh yeah, it was emotional. It
Yeah.
was fun,
A roller coaster. Um,
as every episode should be.
yes. And I feel like again, like I always say it, but like the conversation doesn't end here. And I think that's kind of like why I also get a little nervous sometimes like sharing things online. It's because it's like a little snippet, right? Like I just said this one thing, but there's so much more that goes into it that like we can continue talking about, and like we will. Like we have so many topics that we want to just deep dive into. And so you should subscribe so that you can hear more about what we have to say, because like I feel like we've both gone through quite a bit of stuff. Like we have a lot of our own experiences to share with you guys, and we're excited to dive into every single one. And yeah, we hope you guys join us along for the ride.
Yeah, everything Crystal said, I second it. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify. You can look us up on Google Podcasts, Anchor.
Yes.
I also just want to say, like Crystal said, conversation's not over. You're only
Mm-hmm.
getting a snippet. This is, 1 hour of how many hours in a week. And
Yeah.
so there's so much we can talk about. Please leave comments below on
Mm-hmm.
what you want to hear. And, most importantly, we really appreciate everyone who's been listening,
Yes.
who's been enjoying our content. We're just here to share, hopefully, a different perspective than what you usually see on social media.
Yes. A real raw perspective. So yeah, guys, episode 3. Is this episode 3?
Yes, it should be episode 3, hopefully.
Okay. Woo. Yeah, episode 3, third time's a charm. I hope we by now you guys have subscribed and follow us on our socials as well. New episodes every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Make sure you guys turn on those post notifications so you guys can get notified whenever that goes live. And yeah, like Nyla said, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys so much.
And of course, sorry for the spam.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Peace out.